De story begint met haar eigen woman named Amina. Ze was simpel, soft hij het aanvul of hoorpe. Ze belief het in loefe dieply, even wen liefde had not always been kind to her. Still, ze never stopped believing tot on a die, so while vindt ze mee en wil till I follow her. Amina spent most of her time with her pone, like a man I young people to die. Ze was not looking for anything dangerous or complicated. Ze yes wanted ze mee en wil understood her, ze mee en wil stoi, ze mee en wil not lay off when things got difficult. Ohne ordinare ervaring, semeting tamget. It started there, rauche sociale media. Al me zag het dame from a man ze dit not knoof. His name was Daniel. At first ze ignoreerde it. But semeting about his polite on calm words made her reply. Tat ohne reply slivlei der niet in die conversations. At de beginning it felt harmless. Simple greetings. Small talk. Nothing serious. But Daniel was different from others. Hij listened het karefille. Hij replied on time. Hij asked about her die like it trillai mattered. His words were soft respectful and full of attention. For Amina, tis felt in is al bit beautiful. Dans passet, an der conversations betame longer. Den der betame daile. Efer I morning he tasted her. Efer I neget he visit her goed neget. Slavely he became a part of her routine. Amina started waiting for his messages without even realizing it. Daniel al zijn knevel toesprak emotionally. Hij wilde zij things dat duidde her hart deeply. Hij told her ze was speciaal. Hij told her hij had never met ze mene like her before. Hij maakte her feel zien in een wijze hij had never opgerented. And Amina with her kind hart believed hem. Soon de connection grew stronger. They saw it there first dreams and pastbines. It felt like they understood of other perfectly. Daniel wilde zij felt better when talking to her. Hij maakte promises that sounded real and forever. Amina started smelling more. Her liefde felt lichter. Ze began thinking about him even when he was not online. His words started in her mind all day. Slowly, without notifying, ze started depending on him emotionally. He was later to reply, ze wilde veel annoyance. He was busy, ze wilde worry. But when it came back, all their worries wilde disappear. That small attention from him felt like a comfort a tiled airplane. Daniel, on the other hand, started becoming more intense with his feelings. He acted like he was the most important person in his world. Sometimes it felt a little overwhelming, but Amina mistook it for deep liefde. Zij dacht het mij betekent zo real liefde feels. Even her vriends notiget ze was tanring. Zij smiled more at her pone. Zij talked less about real liefde. But Amina didn't care. For her, tis connection felt special, almost like a destiny. Oh nee, nicht. Daniel zei something that stayed in her heart forever. Hij told her dat hij teilt ze of vertieren with her. Al liefde toch er. Al promise of forever. Dat was de moment if her eiting tanget in zit her. Amina stopped doubting. Ze stopped feesteuning. Ze fully trusted him. In her heart, ze believed ze had finale find her selmade. Ze mene wo trillai tarit. Ze mene wo woud never leofen. For the first time in a long time, lieve felt perfect. But wat Amina didn't know was dat perfect doen is often de beginning of something fragile, something dat dan breekt without warning. An slowly without an hij zich dat perfect world was about to vangen. After toze allerlei dance of sweet conversations, something deeper began to grow between Amina and Daniel. It was no longer just messages or simple talks. It had become a part of her liefde dat ze teilt niet imagine losing. Every morning, Amina woke up and reacted for her pone before anything else. Ze didn't even think about it anymore. Her first thought was always Daniel. If his message was tear, her started with a happiness. If it was missing, ze felt in her like something was wrong. Daniel had slowly become her emotional comfort. Weinig voor zijn veld te red, stresset of van fieset, ze teer niet toe hem. Ander was alwans deren. Hij liste niet toe if eiting ze site. Hij responded with calm words. Hij maakte veel lekker ze matter het moreton aan een else in te woord. Toe Amina, tis veldelijke real lufe. Bet sleevlij without her realeming it, her woord started serinking. Ze stoppet soaring things weten her vriends de wijze eise toe. Wenn den asket her to meet or talk, ze wilt often ze was besser. Ik vind at home ze betame keiter. Her mint was alwans zo mee weer else witte Daniel. Het was not dat ze was voortje to lay off her otiers. Het just hop in het sleevlij, lekker of fight if ze dit not notigen. Daniel also betame more emotionally important to her every dag. Hij talet her his payoff. Hij told her dat nu onne understood hem lekker ze dit. Deze woords maakte veel speciaal, lekker ze was thuis in vreemde vuile wereld. Bet along with lufe, small thang gestartet opjaring. Ze met hem is Daniel wel het feit of ze talken to a match with her friends. Hij wil not zo direct leid, bet is toen wel kangen. Hij wil als pieste ons lekker wo ze was weten, or wijze was not replying kijklei. At first, Amina didn't think anything of it. Ze believed it was daar. Ze tauchte te just misset er toe meet. En her hart ze zou het als lufe not tondrol. Ze instead of feeling incomfortable, ze started outdisting herself. Ze replied faster. Ze spent more time online. Ze avoided ze theations dat mich het eepset hem. Without realeming it, ze begon saping her lieve around his emotions. On Daniel, hij nu tige tist hangen. Hij liket it. Bitte never sided die rechtlei. Instead, hij maakte her veel lekker ze was doing de rechte ding. Hij prijsde her wen ze gave hem attention. Hij betame warm aan lufing wen ze staai tluise. Aan slechtlei de stand wen ze did niet. Het treated a pattern in her hart, reward aan silente lufe aan de stande. Amina didn't understand it, but ze felt it deeply. Still, ze believed it tis was of lufe woordkit. Ze taucht real lufe meand adjusting voor eof otier taring deeply aan alwan standing tonated. Als der bon greef stronger, then started talking about te fittieren. Daniel wilt mean to on simple dreams at first. Al small home. A peasse veel liefde. Ze mene to trist forever. Den sleevlei, toen ze dream started inkleding Amina. Hij spooke about Mariage, about buying tegen de properlei on die, about building al liefde tat nu on a heartbreak. Deze conversations maakte Amina veel satire. Ze started imagining dat fittieren in haar ment. Ze met dem is ze wilt het feitelijk aan think about it. Al liefde wäre Daniel was alwans dere. Al liefde wäre ze never felt alone achan. Het felt perfect. Bet im steons weer becoming stronger on one siddetante otier. Amina gave her hartville. Everij im steon, everij tauchet, everij hope was dit te Daniel. Mean wille, Daniel reminded calm, simmetem is intense, simmetem is de stand, bet alwans in tondrol if de bate. Still, ze didn't know tiefe te imbalance. But deze lufe had already started to blind her. If in vain her fleers of friends tried to talk to her about of me ze had tanget, ze defended him. Ze said they didn't understand him. Ze said it was different. Ze believed ze was looking to half a found ze mene like him. And if er time ze defended him, ze betame more ims dienalai attacket. More dependent. More infested. Nu, Daniel was not just ze mene ze talket to. Hij was er comfort. Her routine. Her imstunal stoppen from ifferwriting else. Ante stories part was ze no longer reale met weire her liefde in het antweire began. Wat veldelijke lufe to er was sluwlei becoming imstunal dependente. And without on a warning, tis deep at dafement was feitelijk preparing te grind for summiting ze tiled never imagine toming neut.
At first, Amina didn't know tegen anything different. Her dans were still built around Daniel. Ze still taken her pone early in the morning, still waited for his messages, still smiled when his name appeared on the screen. In her hart, if her eating still felt stable or at least ze wanted it to feel that way. Bij het slavely, semeting begon te tangen. It was not said then. It was thought, almost invisible at first. Daniel's message started to filmen later dan Esau. Vere onte replit feikly, neftiere vere delans. Manitas der net into hires. Hires semetim straight it into long silente. Amina wild se tere, staring at her screen, telling herself it was nothing. Maybe is yes bezig, ze tauch it. Wanneer dit reply, his messages weer soorter. Less warm, less emotional. Te long, toring tales dat onte made her veel speciaal weer sloevlei disappearing. Nu it was simple words. Bost replis. Nothing deep. Still, ze treat not to effairting. But her heart was starting to notice what her mind was trying to ignore. O in a day, ze tried to start a deep conversation like before. Ze wanted to talk about their dreams, their vertieren, the things that easy to disse se eazele. But Daniel seemed to stand. Hij replied slowly. His answer was very short. Hij avoided the deeper parts of the conversation. It felt like hij was bij zijn collecteren bit im stilnal summe very else. Amina felt a small sting in her heart. But she didn't say anything. Instead, she told herself hij misbeteerd. Stressed. Liewig iets besser, ze taucht. People tangen moeds. Daniel started asking simple Jesus more often. Besij, te red, stress at work. Deze words became a tumult between them. Efter uit thema Amina tried to return it, tiere was a reason why talent fell beteren. But still, he didn't lay off. Anta ton feasted her the most. But deze was still present in her leven, yes not the same one aan hij. It was like a holding sume in his hand, on sleeve like feeling der gripgeting werker. Amina began to feel in neose. At neget ze wild star at her pone longer than before. Waiting, refreshing, hoping. Semetim is Daniel wild ze den like thome balk with a warm message, acting like if her writing was normal. Those moments wild make her feel relief achan. Like noting her tanget. Bij den de stande wild return. Achan and achan. Tis pattern started hurting her without her for like understanding why. Ze tried harder now. Ze wild send longer messages, trying to bring back the old connection. Ze wild as more feestons, saw more feelings, try to keep the bond alive. But Daniel's responses became unpredictable. Sometimes he wild reply warmly, like before. Other times he wild respond after hires with just a few words. On sometimes he wild not respond at all for a long time. Tis inconsistent that Sleevely started creating confusion in her mind. Ze wild read his old messages achan, trying to understand what hangt. Ze wild look at past conversations, searching for something ze missed. But nothing more sense. In her heart, she still wanted to believe he was the same person. But her feelings were starting to shift into sementing of fear. On Chita, ze begon kijken her pone to her often. Feeling nervous when he didn't reply. If her thinking over a small delay. Wondering if she did something wrong. Wel tanget, ze asked herself ze lently man uit teams. But ze had no answer. Ante woors part was. Daniel never vleerlei eplanet aanleiding. Hij staat in haar leven juist enough to keep her at David bet de stand enough to confuse her. Amina started feeling emotionally imbalanced. Some dansen felt hoe painful when hij replit kindlei. Other dansen felt empty when hij disappeared. Her emotions were not controlled by his presente and absente. And ze didn't even realize hoe deeply ze was bijgepullet in het is emotional feitelen. Wat onder felt like a perfect loeven was no turning into silent confession. And in Amina's heart, a small fear began to grow for the first time. A fear ze didn't feel like understand uit. That maybe something was slowly slipping away from her. At first, Amina thought it was just another delay. Daniel had been distant before, so she told herself this was the same thing achan. Maybe was besser. Maybe needed spaven. Maybe was just die red of work. But tis dimme simiting felt different. Because it is dimme, tis selene dit not break. It started with een read messages. Amina sent hem als simple message, opbesting al replijlijke bevoeren. Minuutjes passet, 10 hours, 10 of veel die. De message staat inreed. Her hart felt als smal presieren, but ze treat to stay calm. Hij wil reply, ze wijsperen to herself. But hij did not. Ze treat calling him. Ons het no answer. Twis het no answer. Achan en achan onlijselende. Elke feilet call maar her case veel heel vier. Her finnes wild zaken slechtly als hij houdt de pone, staring at de screen like het met het sedenlij tangen. But noting van het. Still, ze refused to believe it. On sociale media, ze teilt ze semeting dat confiezen er even more. Daniel was actief. Posts, online status, small updates. Hij was dieren juist not voor haar. Dat realing uit dion het sluwlei, like told when ze teilt not esapen. Amina felt her minspinning. If hij is online wijze not replying. De piestion keeper beating in haar head. Achan en achan. At first ze treat to stay patient. Ze told herself not to everthink. But patient de sluwlei der niet in de voorrij, aan voorrij der niet in de banet. Ze started sending more messages. More calls, more attempts to reoffer him. If hij ation was a small hoop dat mij betes deme hij wild respond. But if hij slender felt hij vier tante last. Her heart was no longer calm. It was restless, confessed, outright. Friends started no tiefing te vangen in her. Ohne if dem advised her geen leid is op causing him. To give him spaven. To think about herself. But Amina found afdipped out. And her heart, ze still believe it a wild tomebak. Ze still believe it is was just a pause. A misunderstanding. Semeting temporary. Ze ignorate advete. On kept waiting. Dawn started passing. Slavely at first den pijnville. Elke morning felt harder than the last. Ze wilt waken op aan tekeer pone immediately. If I die, ze hooped to see his name. But if I die, nothing. De Selente betame aroutine. Until Selente started eating her from inside. Amina begon to think deeply about everything. Werde de doel wrong? Did zij semeting? Did hij hurt him without knieuwing? Deze tauchets never stopped. Ze replied every tonversatien in haar mint. Every message. Every moment. Ze artsing voor een misdaken. Ze artsing voor een reason. But ze found nothing clear. And when ons was done tome, the yard starts blooming itself. Slowly, Amina began to believe it was her fault. Maybe ze was too emotional. Maybe ze tasted to her mate. Maybe ze started to her mate. Self-blame started grieving kitely inside her yard. And it hurt more than Selente itself. At night, terwijl ze alone with her pony in her hand, staring at old messages. Messages dat onder mare her smielen en of mare her vrij. De memories felt real, bij de stand. Like a semeting ze los betaald stil veel. Dan steer niet into a week. Den moere, stil no message. Stil no call. Stil no zeggen of Daniel. Her vriend treedt achan de piller bug into reality. De told her to move on. De told her that Selente is also an answer. But Amina refused to listen. But deze afdating it meant losing him completely. And ze wasn't ready for that. Not eight. Her institutional status sleeve started breaking. Ze stopped eating properly. Ze stopped laughing like before. Even simple things felt hij af. Her mind was always taken on a plate. Waiting, hoping, doubting, and slowly falling apart. Den tamet de hardest part. There was no ficht, no goedbije, no explanation. Just Selente, complete Selente. Daniel wil onafhankelijke her eintere wereld, had vonnis het from her leven alsof hij never existed. No flosere, no final words, nothing. Amina zat in her room ohne ervaring, holding her pone dichtlei, staring at the empty screen. Her eyes waren teared, but ze still kept waiting for something that wild never tome. And in that moment, a painful trait started settling into her heart. Hij wasn't just besser. Hij wasn't just stressed. Hij had disappeared. And Amina was left all night trying to understand hoe Simeon wil onder veelse vloeze tiles den hij veel lekker als stronger wil never existed at all. After Daniel disappeared completely, Amina's leven entered a painful nave pause. At first she still believed it was not the end. Ze leende tile not but the end, she told herself. Simeon en like Daniel wil onder spoken ze dieply, filed not yes vonnis without a reason. Ze started searching. Not loudly but quietly, like Simeon trying not to accept reality. Ze begon with a metal connections. Old friends, sorry contacts. En hij wil mij geknipt something about him. At first, people gaf simple answers. Hij is busy. I haven't spoken to him. Hij is not active at deze dans. But none of deze answers felt complete. Something was missing. Amina felt feel it in every response. Ze kept asking, tarvelij, hoping Simeon wild geveer a real explanation. But instead, ze started hearing me things. Simeon's side was always like it is, distant and unpredictable. Outer side never started in meteen al consistent with the anayune for long. On deze woords it er slowly like a small frogs forming in something already broken. But she still refused to feel I believe it. Because in her heart, Daniel was still the same person ze on the knife. De one wil maar her feel special. De one wil promise it forever. Ze instead of afdating wat ze heart, ze turned it inward. Ze started replying everything. Every message. Every conversation. Every moment en sorry. Ze wild het all on for hires, streeling daaruit der old thoughts. Reading words dat on te made her smelen en of mocking her van feested. Ze searched it for seconds. Hidden meanings. Annighting ze mich het half misset. Was diere een moment echt neered. Did misunderstand something. Did a fangen slowly without me noticing. Her mind refused to rest. At neget sleep became difficult. Ze wildly dove, but her touwgits wild not stop. Her pone stared in her hand, even in the dark, like it was the only connection left to him. But the stream stared silent. No message, no call, no sign of life from Daniel. Her dans betame heel fear. Ze stopped going eindelijk before. Ze avoided conversations. A faint small talk felt haasting. It was like her wereld had naderweg doomed to onetang onleit finding answers that never come. On slowly, something deeper started breaking inside her. Her self-worth. Ze begon feestaining herself. Was ze not enough? Did I do something wrong? Did I lay off a betuizen of me? Deze questions are not half answers, but they kept hearing inside her mendelijke noises het tiled not turn off. The worst part was ze started believing it mich bij her fault. If in tauge noting was clear. If in tauge tieren was no trete uit. Her yard started tarring blamet that didn't belong to her. Still, a small part of her refused to give up hope. The nail started all of it inside her. Ze kept thinking, maybe is just overwhelmed. Maybe niet stemmen. Maybe on a day will come back and eplan everything. Tis hope betame her selent habit. If in vain reality was pointing in another direction, her heart kept waiting for a different ending. It was like she was standing between two worlds. One world was reality empty, silent and painful. The other world was memory warm, olive and full of love. And ze fell not choice between them. Because a letting go of Daniel felt like a letting go of a part of herself. Tis triade of thonstand waarin ze de her. Her men told her te afdep te treden. Bet her hart refused to believe it. Ze missed him deeply, evenwel a feeling hurt by him. Ze wanted answers bet was afraid of wer 1000 answers megepe. And in tis im stilno von vision, ze betame more isolated. Ze stopped saring her feelings with the ouders. No one around her trelai understood hoe diep des pijn had betome. Ze zit daar uit het alone. Verre daar felt je samen. Wake ep check pone weit henk thrijs lendlei sleep later repaired. Her im stilno startte bekame fragile. Small things teruggered bij im stilns. Al song, al plaza, al memory, al nighting they'll bring her back to him. And if I dim it happen it felt like a losing him achan. But still said it not feel I late go. Because it dig doven, Amina was still holding on to unbelief. Dat Daniel wild return. Dat het wild epline everriding. Dat is alleen de wild finale eind. But wat ze didn't realizing was the longer ze searched for him, the more ze was losing herself in the prukis. On slavelike dat searde for answers was leading her te ward a traitor ze was not ready to vader. Amina never elpete te traitor te thome from cylinder. Ze tauget answers wel thome directly from Daniel onedai. Al meesage, al kal, an eplanation. Sommer dat wild finale maken zijn ze of everything. But instead te trade Tommy and Peters. Small Peters. From People last elpated. One afternoon, while talking tafel uit de simene wil on de kneef Daniel, zei hart simmet dat mare her hart stop for a moment. Not if her eating about him was as it seemed. At first ze didn't understand. Ze asked achan, hoping ze misunderstood. But the woord staat samen just clearer nov. Daniel was not de person ze belief it was. Tere were ouders. Ouder thon versatjongs. Ouder thonektiongs. Ouder emotional bonds. Amina felt her brede sloof. Ze zat stil, holding her pony dichtly, bit her hands ze den veldwerk. It was lekker te grind in her heart safted. Ze kept listening, if in tauge part of her wanted to stop. On slowly, Peter by Peter, the traitor started firming in front of her. Daniel had never been vielleicht consistent with the Anaione. Hij had moved far between people. Different stories. Different instellings. Different promises. And Amina was just on a part of that pattern. Not the beginning, not the end. Just another name in a long list of imstuno confession her leeft bij hand. Voor een moment ze tuilden sprak. Her mindre vieze die afdept werd ze was herhoring. Because in her hart, Daniel was still the man who made her feel special. The onewol sides was different. The onewol spoken about forever. But no those memory started feeling alpha. Different. Almost as if they belonged to Simene Elsa. Ze in het de toonversation feitelijk aanzet alone. The room felt taller than before. Her pony was still in her hand, but she didn't look at it. For the first time, she wasn't waiting for him. She was fighting him in her mind. And what she saw was not leuven. It was confession. It was inconsistent. It was words without meaning. Slowly, realization begon te risen in de air. Al those imstuno messages. Al those promises. Al those deep conversations. They were never backed by real intention. They were just words. Empty words. Amina felt something break inside her, but it wasn't loud. It was silent. A dik imstuno fragt dat nu een teil zeer from outside. And then kwam het hardest realization. Ze was niet speciaal in his leven. Not the only one. Not the only he had his spoken to. Dat tauget het her harder than anything before. But thuis ze had believed it was different. Ze had believed it die phonation was rare. But no that belief started falling apart. Her case felt dicht. Her eie stod dry, but her emotions were vervlieving inside. So slowly turned it in die simiting stronger. Nemnis. It was like her feelings weer to a half uit de tare. Ze her min started setting them doven. Ze didn't cry at first. Ze yes at dear it still kite empty. Then memory started toming back. But now they look it different. The sweet words felt rehearsed. The emotional moments felt repeated. Even the promises of forever started looking like a line spoken before. Werd onfeld like a luefet en vloeket like a manipulation. Antat real ation heert more than the hosting itself. But deze bang life was painful, but bang misleid was deeper. Amina fluistert her eyes. Voor een moment ze zag even uiting kleurlei. De inconsistente, de distante, de emotional heges antloofs. Altijd zeggen ze ignorant no finale mare zijn ze. Her mind was walking ape, if in tauge her hart was still socking. And in tot painful clarity, semeting in ze de begon te vangen. De illusion was gone, de tonfesion was faring. And if in tauge het her deeplei ze was finale seeing de trete verwerkt was. But with de trete tame annot her painful steps was not readai voor. Of de danse. After this toevoeging te treten al bij Daniel, Amina tauge de pijn wild ze te doen feikle. But it did not. Instead, semeting even harder begon inzitten her. Af de tante. Ze zat al in de most of de demon of. De room was kite, but her mind was not. Ik get playing de samen memories achan en achan. His vijfje en oud messages. His promises. His soft words. De moments dat onveldelijke luife no veld confessing aan painful. Ze kept asking herself the same question. Hoe dit semeting dat veld surreal turn into the cylinder? There was no answer. Only emptiness. Her heart refused to let go. Even after the verrighting ze kneef, a part of her still missed him deeply. Dat part did not carry up by te treden. It only remembered hoe we maar her feel in the beginning. Safe, speciaal, luefet, but her mind nu so wat different bestieren. A bestieren of inconsistente. Distante, ontbroken interest. Distraughted als selent war inzitten her. One part of her wanted to hold onto the memories. The other part wanted to accept reality. Aan beide were vechting in zitten her at de same thema. So menigt, terwijl ze neer de window, staring uit de without realisering aanleiding. Her eyes wel betierd, but sleet het nog komen easelijk. Her hart felt heel fijn, like het was daarin semeting te painful te drop. Ze wil denk op bij de silente. Not jestes absende, but hoe complete het was. No message, no explanation. No goedbij, yes disappearante. Dat hurt more than aanleiding. But deze even panhas meaning when semene is still tere. But Celende feels like a nothing at all. Amina started to realing a summiting sluvlei. My betloosere was never going to tome from him. My beweld never eplan aanleiding. My beweld never get the ons where ze kept waiting for. Dat houget started her, but also more her understand summiting deeper. Ze file not keep waiting forever. Not for Simeone will already leave their liver without looking back. Her imstion still her deeply. Simon means weer was het aan ouders. A memory wild ze denlei oppier, and her taste wild dichten achan. But nu, instead of tossing answers, ze wil pauze breade and try to let the feeling pass. It was not eose, letting goed neveres. Tere were dans when ze still felt stick between lufe and reality. Between werd ze felt and werd ze kneef. Between memory and trade. Bet sleevlei de weiget begon to sift. No de superior bit sift. Like ze was no longer standing in the middle of confession, but sleevlei moving toward understanding. Ze started to say summiting clearly. Lufe dat die superiors without respect is not lufe dat zeil behaald onder forever. It is a lesson. A painful on it, but still a lesson. And if in tauge her heart was still broken, a small space in the air began to open. A space voor herhaling. Not complete herhaling uit. bij de beginning of it. En als is het feitelijk in dat moment, Amina finale understood ondertreden ze teilt not ignore aan hij meer. Kloosiere wild not thome from Daniel. Het had die tome from her. Dimme pas het sleevlei, bid het pas het. En with the eeuwse passing die, Amina felt semeting important settling into de her hart. Hij was not thoming bak. Tis straight no longer felt lekker als ook. Het no longer broek er te waar het onte dit. Instead, it felt like a semeting ze had finale leer niet die attept. Feitlei, deeplei, completelei. Dere was no missagewijding voor her. No ineep is dit call. No explanation from Daniel. Antwoord der first theme, ze didn't searte for it. Betuizen de kloosere ze onte gate wijding voor het never komen from hem. Het dame from inside her. Amina zat onder evening neer her window, looking uitzitten at het calm world. De samen world dat onder felt half en felt different. No perfect bet clearer. Ze reale met summiten powerful in dat cylinder. Liever was still moving forward. Even without him. Even without answers. Answer was still here. Still standing. Still breathing. Slavelei, ze begon te redefinen wat Luther meant to her. It was no longer about intense emotions or beautiful words. It was about respect. Consistently. And payosa. Luther was not supposed to make Simeon feel confused or lost. It was not supposed to disappear without explanation. And it was never meant to hurt Simeon's self-worth. Ze understood that nerve. With that understanding, semeting inside her soft in it. No der bond beter attachment to it. Ze no longer saw herself as Simeon wel was leef bij end. Ze saw herself as Simeon wel so fate. Als dan stirred it into weeks, Amina started building her life achan. Not the old version of it. Better nev one. Als stronger one. Ze footies it on her walls. Ze spent time with a people will trillitarit. Ze learned to enjoy small moments achan without thinking about what ze lost. On slavelei, beide begon replaving confession. De memories waren stil tere. Bet it no longer controlled her. Ze had learned a lesson dat staat with her deeply. Not every illuvet jou is real. Antwoords alone are not enough. Actions alone speak louder. Oine evening, ze looked back at if her eitings event there ruge, not with the honor, but with the understanding. It was painful, but it sapped her. It made her stronger than ze ever imagined. Alsof calm settled in her heart. No betuizen if her eiting was perfect, but betuizen ze was finale free. Free from waiting. Free from confession. Free from Simeon never till I started. And in dat fight moment, Amina reale met Simetin powerful. Kloosere was never about him coming back. It was about her finale letting go on to wishing herself instead.